The attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, was a moment that shattered illusions of peace and dragged the United States into the bloodiest conflict in human history. In the early hours of that fateful morning, the skies over Hawaii darkened with the silhouettes of Japanese warplanes, their engines roaring like an omen of destruction. Within minutes, bombs and torpedoes rained down upon the unsuspecting U.S. Pacific Fleet, turning the tranquil harbor into a fiery graveyard. The USS Arizona, struck by a direct hit, exploded in a massive fireball, sending hundreds of sailors to their watery tomb. Over 2,400 Americans perished, their bodies lost to the flames and the depths. The attack was swift, brutal, and merciless, an act of war that would awaken a sleeping giant. The next day, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed the nation, his voice steady but filled with sorrow and fury. He declared war on Japan, marking the beginning of America's full-scale involvement in World War II. The conflict in the Pacific became a relentless struggle, with battles fought on distant islands soaked in blood. The Battle of Midway in 1942 turned the tide as U.S. forces crippled Japan's navy, shifting momentum in favor of the Allies. But victory came at a cost. Each island taken was a battlefield of unimaginable horror. The jungles of Guadalcanal, the volcanic wastelands of Iwo Jima, and the cliffs of Okinawa became killing grounds where soldiers fought not just against the enemy but against disease, starvation, and the madness of war. By 1945, Japan was on the brink of collapse, yet its leaders refused to surrender. The U.S. faced a grim choice: continue the war with a full-scale invasion, which could cost millions of lives, or unleash a weapon so devastating that it would force Japan into submission. The decision was made. On August 6, 1945, a lone B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay, soared over Hiroshima, carrying a device unlike anything the world had ever seen. The bomb, codenamed Little Boy, fell silently through the sky before detonating in a blinding flash. The city was obliterated in an instant. Tens of thousands vaporized, their shadows burned into the walls of ruined buildings. The survivors, their skin peeling from their bodies, wandered through the wreckage, their screams lost in the infernal glow. 3 days later, on August 9th, the nightmare repeated itself in Nagasaki. The bomb Fat Man unleashed another wave of destruction, leveling the city and killing 40,000 people instantly. The horrors of nuclear fire were beyond comprehension. Children turned to ash, buildings melted into twisted steel, and the very air became poison. Japan, broken and burning, had no choice but to surrender. On August 15, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's capitulation. And on September 2nd, aboard the USS Missouri, the formal surrender was signed. The war was over, but its scars would never fade. World War II had claimed over 70 million lives, leaving behind a world forever changed. The atomic bombings marked the dawn of a new era, one where humanity held the power to destroy itself. The ruins of Hiroshima and Nagasaki stood as grim reminders of the cost of war, and the world, haunted by the specter of nuclear annihilation, would never be the same again. The darkness of that time still lingers, whispering through history, a warning that echoes in the silence of the past. Thanks for watching. Now please do subscribe for my 10,000 subscribers surprise.